of the Rural Futures Fellowship now. So I would like to humbly request the co-creators of the fellowship, Ms. Sweetlana Ranjan, the co-founder, I behind the A Foundation, Ms. Joanna Dawson, Rural Futures Anthropological Visionary, Balipara Foundation, to come out on stage. And they will be joined on stage by Ms. Sangeeta Deka, Mr. Pavitra Mili, Mr. Shoaib Mahmudul Haq, and Mr. Bitu Saghal. Okay, so will you be using the microphone? Or? Okay. Sure. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. So we're very glad to be up here with some very interesting people who we've had the privilege of working with for a long time. So I think over the past few days, we've talked a lot about some of the crises facing the Eastern Himalayas, the crises of deforestation, the crises of employment, and the fact that they're both interlinked. And today I want to talk about a third crisis, which is the crisis of youth employment, which in some ways is very much linked to the previous two. And what we're looking at with this fellowship is a way to deal with this crisis because young people are leaving their homes because they don't have job opportunities. And this is in some ways creating a vacuum of leadership in communities across the Eastern Himalayas, leadership for entrepreneurship. It means there's no young people who can really take up the mantle for the next generation uh, of what we do with the environment. And that's something that at Balipara Foundation, we've of course been thinking about it for a while, but especially when we think about the work that we've been doing, how do we ensure that over the next few years, it actually stays and there are actually other people who can carry it on. So I think over the past few days, you've also seen a lot of us running around looking very stressed, very harried all the time. And I would like to give you another side to that, the side where we're passionate about what we do, which is why we're here and running around. And I would like for the tech team to please play a video about in which they talk about the fellowship and what it means to them. Go.
All industries on Earth are driven by the environment, and I think that's something that we have forgotten. All industries on Earth are driven by the environment, and I think that's something that we have forgotten. Sustenance and we've damaged our environment to an extent that this sustenance and survivability of both industries, economies, and people is now under threat. If we don't strive to be environmental leaders in whatever we do today, we will not have a planet to live on.
I think personally it was interesting for me because a lot of the places where I work in now were places that I also grew up in. There were places that I saw deteriorating over time. If I had a choice, I would want to change. And I think that is an opportunity which a lot of other people want. When they see that, I think one of the things which everybody wants to do is be that change.
Through our work, we train young people in rewilding their forests and in bringing biodiversity back on their farms. A great example of the success of this work is the fact that we've been able to provide jobs or actually entrepreneurship opportunities to many young people when they came back home during the COVID-19 pandemic from the rest of India, right? And it's not the Balipara Foundation providing jobs, but it's the youth leaders who we've trained on the ground creating opportunities for their colleagues in rural areas.
I think in reality there is no definition to environmental leadership or who an environment leader is, but it ensures that you adapt and update your solutions to climate change problems and the realities of today. I joined Balapura in 2020, and since then my work has involved meeting different local indigenous communities in the Eastern Himalayas, talking to them about their issues related to conservation and other livelihood aspects, and coming up with holistic approaches to solutions that help in our rewilding projects.
I always was interested in using data to kind of bring change. Here I have the opportunity to work with different teams and collect data from them, and that has kind of improved my communication skills. I do want to get into visual communication and like how communication and storytelling can help impact. It is helping me for my personal goals as well to like go to the field and understand the stories in the field.
तो हम लोग का कोई भी जब प्रोजेक्ट आता है हैबिटेट रेस्टोरेशन या रीवाइल्डिंग का, तो उसमें मेरा सबसे अहम भूमिका होता है, क्योंकि फाइनेंस से ही सब कुछ प्रोजेक्ट का सब कुछ कार्य होता है। जो भी बजट है उसको गो थ्रू करना, उस बजट का जितना भी पैसा है या जो भी है उसको डायरेक्ट हम लोग का डोनर से हम लोग के पास आने से लेकर ग्रास रूट में जो भी बेनिफिशियरी है उसको कैसे पहुंचाया जाए और राइट पर्सन तक कैसे पहुंचाया जाए, उसका मेरा काम होता है। जो भी कम्युनिटी है उन लोग के साथ लीड करना, उन लोग से बात करना, उन लोग को मोबिलाइज करना इन्वायरमेंट के लिए, तो वो चीज़ में मुझे एक एडिशनल मतलब एक्सपीरियंस मिला कि मुझे ऐसा करना पड़ रहा है विद फाइनेंस के साथ। जैसे कि अगर ऐसे कंपेयर करूं दूसरे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जो भी कॉर्पोरेट सेक्टर होता है उसमें क्या होता है कि वहाँ पे ओनली फाइनेंस, बट यहाँ पे क्या है फाइनेंस विद इन्वायरमेंट, तो वो दोनों का मतलब सामंजस्य जो होता है ना मिलना, वो बहुत ही अलग ही है।
I cannot imagine being anywhere else or doing anything else. What we do know is that the work that we do is replicable, scalable. We have a lot of work to do in the region, which will take us many years to bring at least the biodiversity back and the stuff that we've lost. But we also know that this work has immense potential in other areas of the global south, right? So after we do our jobs here, with our partners and with all the young people that we strive to attract, we're going to take this model to Central Africa, we're going to take this model to Latin America. So I'm guessing the work is not going to end till the end of our lifetimes. This fellowship will focus on rural youth and training rural youth to becoming the stewards of their own environments, to train them to restore the forests that they've lost. This fellowship will also particularly target urban youth, not necessarily in training urban youth to plant trees in Delhi or Bombay, not to lead awareness, not to lead environment talk, because I think we have enough of that, but to train them to lead environment action.
The fellowship in itself is exciting because it's a unique approach to creating change. It tells you about the obstacles that you face every day, and not just one aspect of it, which is global warming, deforestation, but multiple aspects.
If your focus is on environment, you kind of focus just on waste management and pollution, and these are the topics which are there, but you don't kind of understand other topics, and that's where they can go to the field and they can go to the rural areas and understand, okay, environment is not just about that, but also about reforestation, about agroforestry, about understanding different things which is impacting the communities.
Everybody can do something, everybody can contribute in the best of their abilities with their skill set. You do not have to be, say, somebody who has had a long history of being an environmental activist, probably.
This fellowship will create a unique, interdependent and interconnected network of young leaders who will work across sectors, who will work within corporates, who will work together with governments, and who will work together with their rural counterparts to create and revamp supply chains, to create and revamp investments in climate action, and to create enabling policy environments to drive change, not just in India, but across South Asia.
Ground realities of today, we can't just use old narratives of how we address climate change. I think we need new updated models of, say, leadership solutions to climate change problems, and that's what we are looking at, and I think young people have a huge part to play in this fellowship.
We are looking at people who have a stake in the environment, we are looking at people who have a stake in their community and who want to further that. So they do not have to maybe be involved with the first stage, which is that of planting, but the people could be involved at every other stage, which is media, communications, research, engagement.
We hope to be working together with these young leaders in the coming few decades to really create an army of young people restoring land, to at least reversing the amount of deforestation that we've had, to create unique supply chain models by which or through which rural youth and urban youth work together in transforming how we grow things that we need, in transforming how businesses look at climate. This is one of the very few fellowships in the world aimed at driving action towards restoring forests and aimed at driving leadership of youth in restoring biodiversity.
This is something that has also come up in a lot of the interviews that we've conducted, that people do not necessarily want to move away. So people do crave for this home, but how can this home become a place where they can actually live? How can it become a place which gives them opportunities, and how can indigenous youth take over this narrative and take over this movement and claim it as theirs? I think would be very interesting to see how this pans out in terms of the RuFu Fellowship.
Slides about this before Svetlana takes us through a conversation with some of the young people and who will talk about what they aim to do with the fellowship. So this fellowship in many ways is a love letter to the region. It's a love letter to the young people we work with and the young people across the region. Long-term ecological degradation has created a situation where people don't have jobs, they don't have opportunities. But we see this restoration as a way of creating jobs, creating opportunities for young people, and this fellowship specifically as a way of creating opportunities for young people to become leaders in a meaningful way. You saw my colleague Benita talking about interviews that we've done with communities about what well-being, what living well means to them. And surprisingly, a lot of people say that actually it is not about money, it's not about incomes, it's about having a place you can call home and a place where you can earn enough to live, yes, and live well. But it doesn't mean that it's only the jobs. It's also about the community. It's about having that social net. And it's also about having access to incomes that actually create positive impacts on nature as well. Because for many of the people that we work with and the young people who live in rural communities, that nature is as much a part of their community and their social fabric as the people they live with. So why this fellowship? We have set ambitious goals for ourselves of restoring 100,000 hectares by 2030. And very simply, and if we create a whole wave of young leaders, we realize that we could reach about 128,000 hectares of restoration by 2030. And this is just with maybe at least 6 fellows out of the 20 fellows we aim to recruit every year, going back into doing restoration work. So what is the fellowship exactly? So we start out with an actual immersion into the region. What is the Eastern Himalayas? What are its people? What is the sort of socio-political fabric of the region? What is its socio-ecological fabric too? But at the same time, you have to develop yourself as a leader too. So who are you? What are your values? What do you want to achieve through this fellowship? And that sets the context for you to start thinking about, what do I want to achieve? So thinking about impact, thinking about your strategy for achieving your goals, and of course, then thinking about how you gather the knowledge to actually achieve those goals, and how do you work with communities, especially with the traditional ecological knowledge of indigenous people across the region. And at the same time, then you understand the social interdependencies, the way people, nature, culture are all interwoven in this region, and how do you work with that meaningfully? And by then, you come to your third semester when you actually start doing rewilding, and you'll be doing that with the lovely Balipara Foundation team in practical ways across Northeast India, understanding what it means to actually restore a forest, what does it mean to rewild farmlands through agroforestry. And at the same time, you will, as a fellow, be running into all kinds of systemic problems, systemic changes, systemic challenges. And then you're at that during that semester, you'll spend time thinking around these challenges, thinking about how to solve them. And by then, you've actually done almost 90% of the work to actually go start doing your own projects. Then you do a 10-hectare pilot in your community or a community that you've been able to mobilize yourself. And at the same time, then you're analyzing this, you're kind of decoding what exactly am I doing, how is this all working, you're synthesizing that, and that brings you to your entrepreneurial journey, which starts from semester 5 onwards, where you start thinking about the more technical aspects of being an entrepreneur, which is how do you build partnerships, how do you raise the support that you need to be actually able to do this work at scale. How do you build yourself as a leader? What are your leadership values? How do you actually lead teams? And then by the final semester, you start actually pitching for 100-hectare rewilding grants that we will be providing to 12 successful fellows. And you will be also creating your teams with either with your fellows or with people you know, to actually start thinking about what you want to do after the fellowship. And of course, it's not just one avenue. Some people will go back into rewilding forests and restoring farmlands, but some people might choose to start their own sustainable business. Some people might decide to get into policy, and we hope people get into policy because we urgently need policy change too. Some people might choose to use storytelling to actually put the Eastern Himalayas on the map, talk about people, talk about ecosystems. And some people might go back into research. So there's all kinds of avenues that are open, and we are aiming to build broad enough skill sets that people are equipped enough to go back into these different groups. And that's why also the video brings together people from such different backgrounds. So if you want more information, we have this QR code. You can scan it. It'll take you to a form where there's a note you can download, or there's a form you can fill out in case you have any specific questions you want to ask us. You can also refer other people to it through this form, or you can, of course, just come up to Sweet Lana and me after the session and ask us whatever you'd like. So over to you, Sweet Lana.
Thank you, Joe. Wow, wasn't that inspiring? Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sweetlana, and we have just witnessed the launch of the Rural Futures Fellowship, which is aimed at young people from the Eastern Himalayan region with a specific focus on rural and indigenous youth. This fellowship, like Joe mentioned, seeks to build capacities for rewilding and regenerative agriculture while creating the next generation environmental leaders. We not only are able to rewild these forests, but are also equipped with transferable skills that allow them to push messaging on conservation, whether through storytelling or policy or sustainable business practices. Over the years, I have worked with youth, and I believe that it is possible. I have also been privileged to have witnessed a lot of these stories myself. But who am I to say this, right? Let's just hear from our panel today. With us, we have three inspiring youngsters who have accomplished quite a lot in their life so far and are here to do so much more. And also some experience which I will introduce very shortly. Yeah. So first, let me start with introducing Pabitro. Pabitro Mili, I know him because I was part of the Balipara Foundation project when I went and had the privilege to stay with him in his homestay, where his family hosted me, looked after us for a duration, and I was witness to the hospitality and warmth that I received, not just from him and his family members, but with the entire community. He is well respected, not just by youth in the community, but also elders. Pabitro is an indigenous leader. He has also started his own entrepreneurial journey and has done a lot of work in the region of Baligaon, Assam. We'll get to hear from him shortly. But let's move to our next panel, who is Sangeeta Deka. She works with Balipara Foundation. She's a self-trained botanist, extremely passionate about what she does. She's currently working with the research team in Balipara and also leads the restoration work in Manipur. Sangeeta, when you interact with her, you will not just know how passionate she is about her work, but you will also discover her journey, that how she won the trust of her family as well as her entire community, and has inspired so many young women and adolescent girls from her community to step out of their comfort zones and follow their dreams and passion. So that's Sangeeta for you all. The next on the panel, we have Sohaib Mohammadul Haq. He leads the climate change research and advocacy at Youth Policy Forum. For the past 2 years, he has been working with youth experts and policymakers in different concerns of climate change, mitigation, and adaptation. He also has a lot of experience in consulting private and development sector organization on solid waste management. He aims to bridge the gap between youth policy and climate change by engaging them in policy research, dialogue, and advocacy. He's only 23 years old and is currently pursuing his bachelor's degree in population sciences at the University of Dhaka, Bangladesh. So those are the three eminent youth personalities that we have today on stage, along with another youth, I would say, Mr. Bittu Sehgal, an environmental activist, writer, and the founder of Sanctuary Nature Foundation, an Indian not-for-profit conservation organization that works on environmental policy, advocacy, science, on-ground support, and habitat management. He's also the founding editor of Sanctuary Asia, a wildlife and ecology magazine. Thank you so much, sir, for being here with us. Yeah. So now let's start with questioning or asking our first question to our youngsters. So Pavitra, why don't you start first? Please tell us more about your journey and what keeps you motivated to do the work that you do.
Hi everyone, my name is Pavitra. I am from India, Assam, from a small village named Baligaon Miri Green Village. I had done my master from Dibrugarh University. Since 2016, I have been engaged with Balipara Foundation as a community representative in a plantation site and so on, and I'm running my own homestay and a ecotourism development group.
Lovely. And what motivates you to keep the work that you're doing?
Actually, what motivates me means my family and my villagers, actually, they motivate me. Whatever I do for my villagers, actually, they support me, they encourage me. At that time, I feel means doing more. Means I think I can do more for my villagers. So they supported me, that's motivated me more. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. Sangeeta?
Hi everyone. So I'm from India, Assam. As you all know, my name is Sangeeta Deka. So my love for plants started when I was a kid. So we have a small farmland in our hometown. So me and my father always used to visit. Like on Sunday, we used to visit our farmland. So every day, every time when we visit, my father always explained to me. The plants we have in our farm, the nearby areas. He always explained to me the different types of plant species and their uses. So when I grew up, I started noticing the plant species which we have earlier. Those all are like reduce and change. Being a plant lover, and I know it might sounds crazy, but I have a emotional attachment with plants. So I decided to, as I got to know about the Balipura Foundation, so I decided to join Balipura Foundation. And after joining the foundation, I got to know more about the plant species and their floral and faunal diversity of India, I mean the Northeast India and all the world. So by studying and visiting forest areas, I got a lot practical knowledge on our diversity. So as I got to know, I mean, from the forest areas and all this, so right now I'm working in a project in Manipur where we have selected 100 hectares of land for plantation, and also like we have selected 246 household for agroforestry.
Lovely.
And now when I go back to my village area in my community, I not only encourage the youth, I mean the women, I also encourage them to not to giving up their study, focus on their dreams, which makes me happy. Thank you.
Lovely, lovely. Shoaib, hi. Could you talk about your journey and share examples of youth's contribution, especially in Bangladesh, on environmental policy and advocacy and the importance of youth leadership in environmental policy reforms, please?
Thank you. Sweetlana already gave a great introduction, so I'm not going to go into that. Also, really moving stories from Sangeeta and Parvata. I'm really definitely going to speak to you guys after the event. So I am Shoaib. Simply put, I work in the intersection of climate change, policy, and the youth. As a youth, I have always felt that there's a gap between our youth population and the policymakers in the policy space. We know that many governments have ministries and departments who have youth affairs as their in their portfolio. But these offices tend to view youth as something that needs to be addressed by public policy, but not as a resource that needs to be tapped in the making or in the making of the policy making process. So this need to bridge the gap, and my keen interest in climate science, climate change, why it is happening, led me to this journey of policy space. And for the past 2 years, I've been working with Youth Policy Forum, which is led by all youths in the climate change space. We work in 3 verticals: policy advocacy, policy research, and youth capacity building. In policy research, our young members receive primary research experience by going to climate vulnerable locations, areas, and collect disaster data and present them and suggest policy suggestions to our national policy makers. And on the advocacy front, we analyze and synthesize large documents on environment and climate change and compile them into bite-sized information and present them to our policymakers so they can be up to date with the latest and emerging issues and research of climate change and make evidence-informed decisions. Now, all of these are done by youths, and to enable them to do this, we regularly and continuously organize capacity building sessions, policy courses, and master classes on climate change negotiations, the science behind climate change, restoration, deforestation, and all of these are delivered by leading policymakers such as Saber Hossain Choudhury, I'm sure you guys know, and leading experts, free of cost. And all of this is on our website, on the internet, just one touch away, one click away.
Lovely.
These are some ways we are trying to fill the gap in the policy space and the youth.
What is the number of youth that participate in on an average?
In the core team, we have around 200 youths who are actively working in the policy space. They belong from almost 40 out of 64 districts in Bangladesh. And in our broader group, we have over 10,000 youths and experts working with us.
Is this annually?
Yes, we have a group in Facebook and other forums.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, Mr. Segal, after listening to their inspiring stories, we'd love to hear from you. What role can youth play in protecting, conserving, rewilding, and restoring our biodiversity? Also, what kind of jobs or opportunities can they look into in this space?
I need to take one mic to do that.
Yes.
What can our youth do? Well, first, accept an apology from me, a real apology. I am so sorry, so very sorry that my generation has been some of possibly the worst planet managers in the history of humanity. And we have left you with a planet that you're going to have to clean up. I should have left you with a planet that my grandparents gave me. I could jump into a river, I could swim, and I could drink the water at the same time. I did not need a chemical lab to do that. I wish there were no jobs necessary to clean up the planet, because those jobs, we are lousy at doing that. We are awful at planet management, and no matter how much we try, we can't do anything as well as a butterfly could or a bee could. They are the maintenance engineers of our planet. So here it is. I am sworn to tell you the truth. I work with young kids. The average age, you guys are a little too old for me. Normally my average age of the kids I deal with are 12 years. Some are 18 and some are 20 and some are 6 and some are 7. And I have to tell you the truth. I can't tell you la 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 la, everything is okay, don't worry, things are fine. And I cannot foist ecological grief on you. It's not for me to do that. And that will happen if I merely tell you the truth without giving you hope. But if I give you false hope, then I hope you'll throw rotten tomatoes at me. It's not false hope. The planet will be fine. Things will come back. The rivers will run pure. They may not run pure in the snap of an instant, like my generation says, on Friday I decided, on Monday I want to see everything okay. So here is the hard, simple one word that I would like to pass on to you. You asked me about jobs for them. Those are going to be there. I wish you never had those jobs to do. You will get those jobs. But there is a word called homeostasis. Homeostasis merely means that something which is meant to be here, if it goes here, it comes back. If it's here, it comes back. Your temperature, for instance, if you fall sick when you were a kid, your mom would clean up this thing, but in any case, you would shiver, you would sweat, and it would come back. The whole planet, the whole biosphere is designed to be homeostatic, so to speak. Now, if you understand that, then the nature of your jobs will change. If you think that your job is to go out and replace a bee or a butterfly and start pollinating one by one by one, you can't do it. You won't be able to do it. But if you know that if you become people who understand the ways of the earth, I promise you, A, you'll lead simpler lives, and B, you will redefine the jobs that my generation has telling you that you have to do. Please don't listen to my generation. They do not know how to manage your planet. But if you know this, just think of one thing. Look, when I talk to kids, I talk to them, I have a 40-minute lecture called Oh Shit. And the teachers sometimes say, can you say poop, please? No, shit. Shit makes the world go round. No animal on earth has the technology to waste. No animal on earth. An elephant shits, and the message goes out across the whole world, whole forest. Breakfast. So one butterfly will come, one beetle will come, one ant will come, one this will come, one that will come. If you understand this, then it's not your job to go and pick up elephant shit and keep the forest clean. Okay, so this is just I'm giving you only an indication. I'm not telling you what exactly it is. I see the jobs of tomorrow. You will be as respected as the investment bankers of yesterday were respected. But you will not be investment bankers. Your bank is what Balipara Foundation is telling you, the natural capital. The simplest thing that anybody that you need to understand, and you will define your own jobs. What you have to understand is that as far as the planet is concerned, the moment you leave it alone, homeostasis, everything comes back. Now, who had the farm? You had a small plot of land? Yes? All right. Now, in that plot of land, you could, of course, go and do farming, which we have to do now because we have to eat food. We are not going to be. But on the other hand, if you know that your job, suppose it was not 10 acres or 20 acres or 30 acres, it was 5,000 acres. You can't go and do all that. It is your job to see that no fire takes place, artificial fire, that nobody comes over there and starts hacking down your trees. If you protect it, then you'll find that the biodiversity that exists outside will automatically come inside like osmosis. When you understand that, as a botanist, I'll tell you, I'm calling you a botanist because you probably know more about real plants than most botanists who teach in universities. You know that the pollinator of that is not just a butterfly, it can also be a mosquito, it can be an ant, it could be a tiger. When a tiger walks through a grassland, those grass seeds get stuck and he goes and then produces new grass that's eaten by the deer, he eats the deer. So I am not going to be so arrogant as to tell you what job to do, but I will tell you this: your life will be better than our life. The sooner my generation is phased out, I'm not saying they should die, I'm just saying that they should take their hands off the wheel and give it to you guys, the better. In the meantime, use your voice, use your age. Use your age because you have the legitimacy to ask for a better future. Don't get sold the line that I am making this huge chemical factory so that I can pollute the river so that you'll have more fish. It won't happen. One of the things that was discussed at some of the sessions earlier was that nothing will work unless we learn to live with less. If you learn to live with, if you're happy with less, your jobs will be defined for you. You don't have to think in terms of doing the kind of jobs that my generation, that my parents, that my grandparents said, ye karoge to bahut acha hoga. I'm saying to you, your job will come when you'll understand the biosphere, understand how it works. And the simplest thing, I'm telling you, 6-year-old, 7-year-old children understand. And can I make you pretend that you're 6 years old just now? 7, okay, 10 years old, all right? You were there just yesterday. So suppose, and this is what we actually tell children. We've got a million children that we have gone through with Kids for Tigers and told them, tiger being just a metaphor for nature, not a real animal. Would you like to live in a house where the doors are made of chocolate? You do this, the window, it's lollipop. You put on the tap, lemonade's coming out. You kick a stone and you say, nahi, ye to sweet hai, isko khao. So you keep on having a house like this, and you go to sleep and boom, everything comes back next day, say back again. Magic. So they say, yes, Uncle Bittu, this is what we would love to have. And then suddenly I asked them another question. Suppose somebody came and broke your house, destroyed your house, made it completely such that you could never use it again. Would you be happy? No, Bittu Uncle, we'll never let that happen. So I said, but every monkey lives in a magic house. Every bird lives in a magic house. And you are living in a magic planet. No matter what you do, the rain will fall, the grass will come, this will happen, that will happen. That, I believe, is your job. That's what you're already doing. So if somebody tells you you should grow up to be a person who goes and plants trees, 1, 2, 3, 5 million, 10 million, 12 million, please believe me, the maintenance engineers of this planet, you should know how they live. What does a termite need to live? Does it need pesticide? What does an elephant need to live? Do you think you can give it 30 square kilometers and say, Acha, now you hathis, you do well? No. They have never in their life destroyed their own home, never in the history of their lives until we came. So you need to understand what the elephant does, because if you give space to the elephant will, nature will give space to you. The elephant needs to move from here to there for 6 months. Then while it's there, all the thing, the magic house I told you, it's come back. Then they come here, then they go there. Then now if you build a canal in the middle and say, do what you like, हमने तो बना दिया, हमारे बच्चों के लिए है. So I'm sorry, I went slightly this way because I'm honestly telling you, I do not want to tell you what jobs you need to do. I'm telling you, you're intelligent enough to see, learn not what we did, learn what we did not do. We did not protect the forest. We did not protect the well. We did not protect the lake. We did not protect the glaciers. We never protected your grasslands. We never protected your wetlands. We never protected your mangroves. The things we did not do, you do. And suddenly you'll find this garden of plenty comes back. And I'm also sorry for taking so much time to tell you something, but that's what I do. I do not advise children on what they do. I can only advise you on what not to do. The rest of it, you guys are much smarter. My daughter even tells me how to put the address in properly, so, and you've got access to a lot of knowledge. Please don't be despondent. Eventually you will see what I will not see. That my generation was being asked to kneel in worship of nature. And we refused. We thought that we made nature. We will make this. We will do this. Now we will be forced to kneel in subjugation. And you will be kneeling in prayer again to the wonder, to the absolute beauty of nature. And this is not hawa ka baat. This is the hardest reality you will ever learn is just follow the rules of nature. Not one single animal in the last billion years has ever declared war on nature and won. We're just bumped up monkeys. We're just animals. And it's the same thing for you. I'm so sorry. None of your questions did I answer. All right.
On the contrary, I think it was wonderful. Thank you. Yeah. So I have one last question for the youth. I know we're a little short of time, but I still have one question for you. So Papitro, let me ask you. Let me start with you, and then we could go up till Shoaib. What message do you wish to give to youth so that, and especially indigenous, because you come from those communities where if there are such opportunities, what would you want them to know?
Actually, hello. Actually, as we know, youth.
Hold the mic.
As we know that youth are the leader of tomorrows. So people call youth as the leader of tomorrow. So I as a youth, I think that we have that power, we have that ability, we have that power, so we can work together and change this world in environmental law. Means in our village, when I was in college, after completing my college, when I back to my village, I found lots of youth just they are sitting without doing anything and spending time in village. It hurts me because when I was in city, I found lots of people. Everybody was busy in their own works. So I decided and I arranged a meeting in our community, and I organized an ecotourism development group. In that group, we planned that all young youth should be engaged, and we all should be in group and work together for our community, so that we can make our community clean and green environments. At first, we started for 4 weeks, we started to clean our village, the roadside of our villages, and we put a bamboo dustbin side by side in village. After a few days, we have noticed that every morning, every villager has to come out and they has to clean their own household and the roadside and all. At first, we faced lots of problem. People was not understanding the problem. Why should we clean the road? It's not our responsibility. But after cleaning, after we youth have cleaned, after that few days later, we did not tell anything to them. Just they came out and they start cleaning every morning. Till now, they are doing that. And people of our village encourage us. And we feel happy and we got more motivated for them. Again, we tried another steps. We collect trees, saplings from other side and all, and we started to plant sapling in roadsides. And then Balipara Foundation noticed us. They said that you guys are doing great works. So why don't you plant more trees for your community? We said, yes, we are always ready for that because we won't stop for good work. We will always go over. So Balipara Foundation came and they have helped us in planting more trees in our local areas. So now I can see a totally difference between that. In that plantation time, lots of people was against. Means some people they don't want to do that plantation in our areas. But later they realized that it is good. Now Indian government is basically focusing on environmental protection and all. So that they also realized that for what purpose they was stopping, that was wrong, and at last they came with us and they also start plantation. Yeah, and the main problem we are facing in our area also was that illegal mining and all. Illegal mining, sand and stone, and illegal timber cutting down all the forest, deforestation are the main reasons. So what we guys do, we have a team, youth team. We try to stop the mining and all mining, and we catch the people who has to cut down the trees. We catch them and we say that it's too bad, you are destroying our nature, so please don't do it. Then they was not ready to accept that. Yeah, that's not good. They said that no, this is our daily income, we don't have any government job, and also we need to cut down the trees for our livelihood, so we are cutting. We said we will give you the livelihood, please come to our areas, come to our village, we will help you. You come and plant trees, we will give you your livelihood. So they came, and now the people who were cutting before the trees and all, now they are engaged with us in plantations work.
Wow.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You're leading with example, Pavitro. Um, Sangeeta, what message would you like to give your, not just your community, but a lot of women and adolescent girls? What would you like to tell them?
Yeah. So what I am think is we the women are not less than anyone. So for me, it was not easy to do my higher education as I am belongs to very small village girl. So what I want to give them a message is just, I mean, it's okay to be fail. It's okay if we do mistakes because we realize the real world in this stage only. So what I want to say is just focus on your dreams, do good for people, just make this world a better place to live, and last but not the least, uh, protect our environment. Thank you.
Lovely. Shoaib, what's your message?
Thank you for saying message, because I myself am a youth, so I don't have an advice to give to the youth. I can share from my experience that, first of all, environmentalism has many roots. There is scientific concern for the science basis, there is philosophical reflection about the nature, ecosystem, and then there is public health and public policy. But as a youth, no matter what area we are working in or want to work in, there is going to be a steep learning curve that we have to cross to be able to do effective advocacy for change. And since already said by Bittu sir, that young people will have to live longer with the environmental decisions, the current environmental decisions than our elders, it is imperative that we prepare ourselves with the practical knowledge and learn to tackle the future's problems. And I think that the Rural Futures Fellowship presented today is an excellent example and way of achieving that. So today, whoever is present, all the youths and also beyond, I invite you to join Rural Futures Fellowship program. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. I wish we had more time and more youth here. However, just to conclude, the Rural Futures Fellowship specifically, like mentioned, targets youth from rural and indigenous communities across India's eastern Himalayan region, Bhutan, Nepal, and Bangladesh. So it will be an international fellowship aiming to raise not only a next generation environmental leaders, but to also enable young people to tap into rewilding and sustainability based entrepreneurship to revitalize their communities, local economies, and landscapes. To know more, I think Joa has already mentioned that you can scan the code and get to know a little bit more about the fellowship. But if you wish to discuss and talk to us, catch hold of us. We're here around for a few more hours. Or write to us, email, and we will be more than happy to engage with you. and let all your friends, acquaintances, whoever you feel would be really interested and benefit from this fellowship, reach out to us and ask them to apply. We plan to go live in the coming year. I think this in October next year we start the fellowship on ground. So the applications will start sometime around March. And yeah, so that's it. Thank you very much for this lovely time. Thank you, panelists. It was really lovely engaging with each one of you. Thanks, Joe.
Sorry that the Buddha party has done all this to you, but you will be better. I'll tell you something. You are going to